talk English.
She walked in, and it was giving main character. If you know, you know. And, well, if you don't, let's fix that.
Yeah, we're definitely fixing that today. It is such a fascinating linguistic puzzle we're looking at.
Right. So our mission today is to break down a very specific modern vocabulary. We're looking at the narrative-based pop culture language of Gen Z.
Which is highly focused on how the language of storytelling, of cinema, and, video games has completely infiltrated everyday speech.
It really has. I mean, it's all over social media. It dominates pop culture commentary, and it's rapidly making its way into totally normal, everyday professional environments.
Oh, absolutely. And we aren't just talking about passing internet slang here. When you analyze the source material, you start to see a fundamental shift in how an entire generation frames their reality.
People are describing their lived experiences as if they are literal movies playing out in real time.
Complete with lighting, soundtracks, and plot structures. It's wild.
So we want to equip you, the listener, with a thorough understanding of these terms. That way you can decode the conversations happening around you and maybe even find a use for this framework yourself.
Right, because it's super useful once you get the hang of it.
Okay, let's unpack this, because before you can have a movie, before you can have any kind of story, really, you need a protagonist.
Exactly. You have to start right at the center of the narrative, which is the main character phenomenon.
Now, in traditional literary terms, the protagonist is simply the leading figure in a story, right?
Right. But in this modern cultural context, being the main character is, it's an active behavioral trait.
Like, it describes someone who moves through the world with complete agency and presence.
Yeah, they behave as if a camera crew is following them around, and the script is written entirely around their actions.
They exude this undeniable confidence. They don't just walk down the street, they move through life dramatically.
And the sources show that this concept has evolved into a whole ecosystem of phrases. Like, you don't just call someone the main character anymore. You talk about main character energy.
Which is an ethos, basically. It's about living intentionally and refusing to blend into the background.
The guide gives this incredibly vivid example that I think captures it perfectly. Imagine a friend tells you she literally walked through the pouring rain without an umbrella and looked amazing. Main character energy.
Notice the cinematic quality of that description. I mean, most people caught in a downpour look utterly miserable.
Oh, completely. They're hunched over, rushing to an awning, just clearly annoyed.
But someone projecting main character energy embraces the elements. They make the struggle look deliberate.
Like a beautifully shot scene in a romantic comedy where the rain is just like a prop to highlight their resilience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You also see the phrase main character moment, which defines a really dramatic or meaningful event in your life.
Like if you give a toast at a wedding and absolutely nail it, someone might say, that speech was such a main character moment.
And my personal favorite variation is the main character era. This refers to a defined period of personal transformation.
Right, like you might tell a friend, I'm in my main character era right now. I'm finally putting my own needs first.
To understand why this specific language took hold, though, we have to look back at its origin. Where did this come from?
Well, it exploded as a widespread trend on TikTok around 2020 and 2021. Users started filming themselves doing the most mundane, ordinary things.
Like what? Doing the dishes?
Basically. You'd see videos of someone simply walking to a bus stop or sitting at a cafe studying alone or even just doing their laundry.
But they would pair these highly ordinary clips with sweeping, dramatic, cinematic film scores.
Yes. They took the absolute most boring parts of daily existence and manufactured a sense of epic importance around them.
I have to wonder, though, if we look at this critically, is this not just a hyper-modern form of digital narcissism?
Oh, that's a common critique.
Right, like the idea that everyone genuinely believes they are the star of the show and everyone else is just an extra in their movie.
What's fascinating here is that the psychological reality leans heavily away from narcissism and much more toward survival. It's actually a highly creative coping mechanism.
Wait, really? How so?
Think about the timeline we just mentioned, 2020 and 2021. The world was incredibly chaotic, people were isolated in lockdowns, and a massive portion of the population felt completely powerless.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
By intentionally viewing yourself as the protagonist of your own life, you reclaim a sense of agency.
It brings presence back into a world that feels out of your control.
Exactly. It's a way of saying, I might not be able to control the global news cycle, but I can control the soundtrack to my walk to the grocery store.
I can choose to romanticize this cup of coffee.
Right, it's a tool for intentional living when the broader plot of the world has lost its mind.
That reframes it completely. Giving your exhausting grocery store run an epic movie soundtrack just makes life feel a little bit more special.
It really does.
Now, once you have established that you are the main character, you have to establish the setting. You need to communicate the mood of your scene.
Which leads us directly into our second major concept, and arguably the most pervasive phrase you will hear today. It's giving.
It's giving. It's everywhere.
It really is. And grammatically, it's a truly fascinating evolution. The construction is simply the phrase, it's giving, immediately followed by a noun or an adjective.
Right. The literal verb to give, as in to hand something to someone, has been entirely dropped.
You don't say, this room is giving me the feeling of certain era. You literally just say, it's giving.
It functions as a shorthand for this gives off the vibe of. And to fully grasp how it works, we have to tie it to another crucial vocabulary term from the source material.
The concept of an aesthetic.
Yes. We need to define aesthetic carefully here, because it has moved way beyond its traditional use in art history.
Well, for sure. In modern internet culture, an aesthetic is the overall visual, emotional, and cultural style of something. It's the holistic feel of an image, a place, or a person's style.
And its giving is the linguistic vehicle we use to instantly communicate that aesthetic.
The sources have some fantastic examples that show how flexible this phrase is. Let's say someone is wearing earth tones, a chunky knitted cardigan, and they look like they forage for mushrooms.
You wouldn't just describe their outfit, you would say, that outfit is giving cottagecore.
Cottagecore being a highly specific, romanticized nature aesthetic that dominates platforms like Pinterest.
Or imagine you walk into an event space. The music is way too loud, there are red Solo cups everywhere, and it feels a little bit unhinged.
You wouldn't say, this reminds me of my college years. You just declare, this party is giving 2010 house party.
It applies to abstract emotional states too, doesn't it?
Yeah. If a situation is completely out of control, the shorthand is simply, that's giving chaos. Or if someone is acting unusually ruthless, you might note, this is giving villain arc.
It's used constantly for physical environments, like you walk into a coffee shop with dim lighting, mahogany tables, and soft jazz playing. It's giving 1940s Paris.
Or, if you want to be extremely minimalist, simply, it's giving cozy.
What I marvel at is the sheer efficiency of this phrase. I mean, you don't even need a complete sentence anymore. People will sometimes just look at a situation, say, it's giving, and leave it hanging.
The efficiency is the entire point. If we look at the underlying mechanics, this connects directly to modern pattern recognition.
How so?
Well, we all process an unprecedented volume of visual data today. Think about how many curated environments and distinct aesthetics you scroll past on your phone in a single day.
Thousands, probably.
Exactly. Our brains have developed a need to instantly categorize our surroundings just to manage the information overload.
So it's essentially a cognitive compression algorithm.
That is a perfect way to describe it. Its giving allows you to take massive visual data, categorize the aesthetic instantly, and communicate it in 3 words.
Because you're relying on a shared cultural dictionary that you both downloaded from the internet. Okay, so we have the protagonists securely in place, and we have the setting and the aesthetic established. How do we describe the actual passage of time?
How do we talk about the chaotic events that happen to us?
Right. We borrow the language of plot.
At the core of this vocabulary is the concept of the narrative arc. In traditional storytelling, that's the structural shape of a story, the setup, the rising action, and the resolution.
What's happening now is that people are applying that exact literary structure to their messy, unpredictable lives.
To make them feel cohesive, yeah. The way these terms weave into daily conversation is brilliant. It often starts with an origin story.
Right. Traditionally, that's comic book background. How a superhero gained their powers.
Now, it is used completely seriously in adult professional networking. You'll sit down for coffee with a colleague and they'll ask, so tell me your origin story. How did you end up in marketing?
We literally treat our resumes like origin stories. We retroactively curate our messy pasts to make our current identity seem inevitable.
And once you have that origin story, you inevitably encounter the plot twist. In fiction, this is a sudden, unexpected development.
In real life, it's used to reframe a stressor as an exciting development, like plot twist. The job offer was actually for a completely different department.
You aren't thrown off balance. The writer of your life just introduced an interesting new dynamic, which naturally leads to character development.
Oh, this one is great. Character development is the noticeable growth of a person. You might observe a friend who survived a brutal breakup and note her character development this year has been incredible.
This one has thoroughly breached the corporate walls, too. The marketing team's character development over the past 2 quarters has been substantial.
If you think about it, an annual performance review is literally just a formalized character development checkpoint.
It provides a metric for growth. Then we have the more dramatic arcs, like the redemption arc.
Right, where a deeply flawed character makes public mistakes, hits rock bottom, but eventually earns back the respect of the audience.
We see this applied endlessly to celebrities after a scandal. The public discourse will debate whether a celebrity has earned their redemption arc yet.
But the flip side of that, and maybe the most interesting term here, is the villain arc. Honestly, you were being so stubborn about the coffee order this morning, I thought you were in your villain arc.
Oh, I am absolutely leaning into my villain arc today. But seriously, in a movie, a villain arc is a tragic descent into ruthlessness. In everyday language, entering a villain arc usually just means you've stopped being overly accommodating.
I find that fascinating. People say, I'm on a villain arc right now. I stopped people-pleasing.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, looking at how people use villain arc reveals something incredibly powerful about behavior modification. Think about boundary setting.
It's so hard to do.
Right, saying no to demanding people or refusing to answer emails on a Sunday, these induce immense guilt.
Because society trains us to be accommodating, especially in the workplace.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But if you label that boundary setting by announcing, I'm in my villain era, you instantly reframe the act. It neutralizes the guilt.
You're no longer feeling like a bad friend. You're simply playing a role. It feels empowering. The narrative language acts as a psychological shield.
Exactly. And here's where it gets really interesting, because you just mentioned being in an era. This is the ultimate organizing principle for this narrative timekeeping.
I'm in my blank era. It means you're in a defined period of your life characterized by a specific mood or focus.
We have to acknowledge Taylor Swift's Eras Tour here, which really popularized the idea of dividing a life into distinct phases. But the concept has completely transcended music.
It's a universal template now. You can be in your soft era, which is dedicated to vulnerability, or your healing era, focused on self-care.
Or building on the villain concept, your no-nonsense era, where you ruthlessly cut out time wasters.
It even shows up as light humor at the office, like an exasperated manager sighing, well, I guess we are in our mandatory team-building era.
The beauty of labeling a phase as an era is that it implies a beginning and an end. If you're going through a difficult time, calling it an era reminds you that it is just one chapter. You'll eventually transition into a new one.
Okay, so we've established that everyone is incredibly busy being the main character, curating their aesthetics, declaring their eras. But what happens on the days when you do not feel like the vibrant protagonist?
That brings us to the background cast. The dominant terminology here is the NPC,
which stands for non-playable character. And this origin shifts away from cinema and directly into the architecture of video games.
Yes, this is an essential detail. In any open-world video game, an NPC is a character controlled entirely by the computer's code, not by a human player.
They exist solely to populate the background.
Right. They stand in one predetermined location, they repeat the exact same 3 lines of dialogue, and they walk in endless, meaningless loops. They possess zero agency.
So translated into real life, calling someone an NPC means they behave robotically.
They follow invisible scripts. You might say someone is giving NTC energy if they're just mindlessly going through the motions of their job without any spark of presence.
Related to terms like background character or support character. But I struggle with this concept. It feels incredibly dismissive to look at a barista or a commuter on the train and label them an NPC.
Isn't it a profound lack of empathy?
Yeah. A symptom of main character syndrome where we literally forget other people have rich, complex lives.
This raises an important question. Context and application are everything here. If you look outward at a stranger and dismiss them as an NPC, it is a deeply solipsistic worldview. It's a reductive insult.
You're effectively telling them you do not matter to the plot.
However, the way the term is most frequently and powerfully used is actually directed inward. When you label yourself an NPC, the meaning flips entirely.
It becomes a profoundly self-aware admission of modern exhaustion.
Like waking up on a Tuesday, scanning your transit pass, buying your exact same medium drip coffee, sitting at your desk, and realizing you have absolutely no memory of the last 45 minutes.
Just totally checked out.
Exactly. Saying, I am in full NPC mode today is a self-deprecating, highly relatable way to confess that your main character energy is completely depleted.
You're admitting that you are running on empty, relying purely on the programmed script of your daily routine just to survive the day.
It perfectly encapsulates the robotic feeling of modern burnout without having to trauma dump on your coworkers.
So dismissing others as NPCs is a failure of empathy, but diagnosing yourself as an NPC is just an honest, funny confession that you're on autopilot.
It's a brilliant piece of vocabulary.
Okay, before we synthesize everything, let's do a quick drill to make sure our listeners have a handle on this. I'm going to give you 4 rapid-fire scenarios, and you have to apply the right phrase. Ready?
Oh, I was born ready. Let's do this.
Round 1. Your coworker suddenly starts bringing perfectly prepped, incredibly healthy lunches to the office every single day instead of buying fast food.
Oh, that is definitely some serious character development.
Spot on. Round 2. You decide to stop answering any work emails after 5 p.m., even if your boss gets annoyed.
I'm absolutely leaning into my villain arc, boundary setting at its finest.
Love it. Round 3. You show up to a cafe wearing a trench coat, reading a physical paperback, and drinking a dark espresso.
Oh, it's giving 1940s more detective. Or maybe just giving main character energy.
Both are acceptable. Final round, you stare at your computer screen for 20 minutes, just clicking refresh on your inbox without actually reading anything.
Classic NPC mode. The programming is glitching. I am just a background character today.
Nailed it. You really are the expert. And for our advanced English learners tuning in, let's just do a really quick vocabulary focus on the core terms we've covered.
Perfect. Let's define them cleanly. First, protagonist. The leading figure or central character in a story or film.
Second, aesthetic. The overall visual, emotional, and cultural style or feel of an image, place, or person.
Third, narrative arc. The structural shape of a story from its beginning through its middle to its resolution.
Fourth, NPC or non-playable character. Coming from video games, it means someone behaving robotically or going through the motions without independent agency.
And finally, era. A defined period of your life characterized by a specific mood, focus, or phase.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive by asking how to decode a confusing set of internet phrases. But looking at the sources, it is clear that this is so much more than quirky slang.
It's a highly sophisticated, narrative-driven framework for processing a chaotic reality.
Whether you're navigating a tricky professional transition and crafting your origin story, or surviving a deeply exhausting day by admitting you're in NPC mode.
Or protecting your own boundaries by embracing a villain arc.
Right. Using the language of cinema and video games gives you a sense of authorial control over your own life.
It allows the human brain to organize the overwhelming complexity of the modern world into recognizable tropes. It makes the unpredictable feel a little more scripted.
And the deeply mundane feel a little more meaningful. Which leaves me with one final provocative thought, something I really want you, listening, to mull over as you go about your day.
Lay it on us.
If we are all walking around writing our own scripts, if we're all casting ourselves as the undeniable protagonists of our own movies, curating our aesthetics, and carefully labeling our phases as specific eras, who is actually the audience for all of these stories?
Oh, wow. That is a heavy question.
Right. Are we performing for the people around us, desperately hoping they recognize our main character energy? Or at the end of the day, are we simply trying to entertain ourselves, constructing these grand narratives just so the story of our own lives feels like it's worth watching?
That is a lingering, fascinating question to sit with.
What era are you in right now? Drop it in the comments.
Yeah, we would love to hear how you're framing your own narrative.
And if you're new here, subscribe so you don't miss next week's deep dive. Keep writing your plot, and we'll catch you next time.